Hey, Joseph, how you doing? Okay, so this is the time of the night when, yeah. So now I don't have the flashbacks, but now I have that nightmare that I told you about, so now I avoid sleep for that. I don't know. So I told you I was going to tell you this idea, whatever. I don't know if I want to face the heat on this one. So if you want to do it, um, I don't know. Maybe we could do it together. I know I can't take the heat on this one, especially after all the crap that just happened. But if you want to do it, if it's interesting to you or whatever, I don't know. So I was. I'll tell you the gross part. So I was on the phone with my friend, and for some reason she had misheard me. We were talking about the letter of the law and the spirit of the law, and then I said, oh, you mean as an example for the fact that man was made for the Sabbath, Sabbath was made for the man, not man for the Sabbath. And for some reason, I guess because my cell phone cut out or something, she had thought I'd said something about celibacy, and then she was saying something about Paul. I'm choking because I need water. So then she was like, no. And then I was like, oh, honey, I think you misheard me. And then I told her that I was talking about that particular quote, and she started to go on about it. Well, when she started to talk about it, she did it in a way, first of all, differently than I had expected her to. Because what I'm accustomed to is people using that whole thing and so much of the crucifixion story to hate on Jews and to say why, they're all crap. And that was one of the things she wasn't saying at all. She was saying, those particular Jews, and then we were talking about, well, that any really truly devout Jew would have become Christian anyway, and we were laughing about that. Well, lightning struck me because I was in the loo, and I got this idea because I was explaining to her in regards to the fact that healing happened on the Sabbath, okay, and that he had done that and that he was called, to question for it. Well, as a modern day Jew, we think of that as absurd because there would be no such thing. If someone were ill, there's no problem with doing whatever you need to, can, or have to do to save a human life. And even in some certain cases, probably it could be argued an animal's life as well, even if they're a non-Jew, okay? So I was saying, however, these are my modern Jewish eyes. And then that's when it hit me because I said, but rather, I don't know how those eyes would have seen it. And then I made the connection. Oh, maybe this is one of the reasons why. Maybe part of what happened during the diaspora were some of the positive effects of Jesus' message. And this had never struck me before because we have always been taught the diaspora was a sense for punishment, and that, we were no longer worthy, and so we were banished, and all this stuff. And, that notwithstanding, whatever, I was thinking, how many things have changed in light of his ministry that were reflective of it, because he was speaking right out of the Torah, so how could it not? But maybe those weren't in practice actively before, and rather that was why in hell these groups, which you know the differences of and I don't, that judged him, were so monumentally in error because, a bet din would not do such a thing now, in my estimation. Not that I'm, completely aware of how a bet din would act, but I would venture to say my best guess, depending upon which variety of Judaism comprised the rabbis of that bet din. That notwithstanding, I began to wonder, okay, well, in the collection of the Talmud, what, and this could be, studied from the years of when they were applied or were changed. How things changed that were a direct reflection of or adopted from and never given credit to. Okay. And it probably ties into the fact that I feel like I get no credit, right? Except by you. You acknowledge me. And I really appreciate it very much. So, that was one of the examples that I could, off the top of my head, recall. Or put together, rather. Connect. I'm not sure what others are, except this is quite a well-known, famous one that, okay, that Jesus said, love one another. That's the law, right? That's the command, right? Love one another. And there's that famous story, and I've heard Jews say it, and Christians say it, and Hindus, and all kinds of people, that there was a man who wanted to learn the Torah standing on one foot, and so the rabbi said to be loving in all instances. But then sometimes the story goes, do unto others, and then sometimes the story goes, love. And then, the man says, what? And then the rabbi says, that is all you need to know about the Torah, that it teaches you love. So I wonder if that's one of those. I'm starting to wonder if these are sort of reflective visages of that shadow face of Jesus in Judaism, because it can't be too far away, right? It can't possibly be, because yeah, well, the most Jews probably at that time did become followers, the ones who stayed as Jews living. They were affected positively and negatively, but it would have had to have changed the way that they recorded everything. And I suppose that you would have to take record of, what was actually put down. But, there are incredibly negative, nasty, mean things said about, Jesus, for instance, and the Atokos. But that's in the Talmud. It's very vulgar and cruel. But all the while, is that where it comes from? And I was going to use this metaphor for something else, but I'm just going to use it here, and then I'll probably use it in another video for something because it applies. That I seem to find the people who scream the loudest are actually inauthentic, okay? The quiet ones who are humble, and they are not ostentatious, and they're not trying to call any attention to themselves are usually the real ones in a bunch. And what I mean by that is I've seen this in professions, I've seen this in faiths, I've seen this in parents who, you know, claim, you know, that they're such great parents, and then they're the first one found to be doing things that are like really negative, but they're the ones who brag and say how great they were, you know, and then it's like this hypocritical thing, you know. It's just like the Westboro Baptist is just ridiculously loud, and to some people they'll never ever investigate any kind of Christianity because they've had enough of it from that, just that, and because they call themselves Christian, right? And the same is true for massage therapists. And this is part of going rogue on YouTube, that I'm not saying everybody, but a vast majority have done that, and unless you're in those circles, you'll never see those videos because those people were so hurt and shredded by the general public, well, there were two big surges of crossover that happened under, that they, you know, disengaged themselves from the general public and just maintained their close friends. So as far as massage therapists go, when I go somewhere and they're very loud and everybody knows who they are and everybody's always talking about this, and I don't know how to explain it, but I find there's a haughtiness. And then I would, just as an experiment, go to that person just to see. And they were horrific. They were horrible. They were completely insensitive. They were poorly educated and had a really incomplete execution of treatment. And I would wonder to myself, so why are these people so popular? Why do they have all the money? Why do they have all the recognition? Why do they have this? And then I meet a quiet one. And I would go to their house, and after we'd made a friendship, and in their living room, I would be healed by these people who no longer have their license. They're not working in any office. They've actually probably by then taken another profession altogether. And when you ask them, why are you no longer practicing actively? And they'll say something like, well, I got tired of the games. Or the New Agey ones will say, my contract with the universe was up. Or, you know, the honest ones will say, I had no support. And that's definitely what happened to me in massage, because my most beloved teacher, who I had since '95 until she passed, the year before last, what is it, yeah, she died 2010, I'm pretty sure it wasn't last year. No, it might have been last year. I think it has been only 1 year. I should check on my Facebook, but I'm pretty sure. I was never able to find other practitioners in the places where I was. so I couldn't get the treatment that I needed, and you know, I would just be hurt by the other ones. And I knew I could never go to another class because she's passed. So that's one of the reasons why I stopped. But I'll still always work on people if they need it. So that's my idea. I guess I can record longer than 15 minutes now. I'm sorry if I've talked your ear off. But I have something else to talk to you about, so I better tape another one because, oh, I've got Skype conversation that I need to clear up with you. Thanks, Joseph.